Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
I'm Shannon Penrod. Thrilled to be here
Hi.
with my good friends.
Yes.
And we got a big show today.
Yeah, we have a couple of guests.
Yes, we do. Wonderful guest, Amanda Lamberti from One Hope One.
Right, whose mission is to make the world a better place. That's what their whole corporate philosophy is about.
Which you gotta love.
Right.
You absolutely have to love that sort of entrepreneurship with a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they have included autism and ABA in that mission
Yes.
is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So we're going to talk to them about that because they've been a good sponsor
They
for
are
Autism
the title
Parent
sponsor
Today.
for our Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival this weekend.
And I think they make a big difference at the event. It's more fun because they're there, just
Right.
by nature of them being there. So that's a wonderful thing. And then a little bit later on in the hour, we have Jonathan Carlender, who has been with us before on the show. He is a budding filmmaker on the autism spectrum. He's got a new passion project that he's been working on that we can't wait to talk to him about. So
Right.
we're looking forward to that a little bit later on in the hour.
Absolutely.
But first, we have some
In the news stories.
Yeah. I always like to start with the worst and work away from that.
Okay, well, we've got a disturbing story
Yeah.
out of Louisiana.
And we just referenced it with Dr. Grant Pichet a little bit too, because we never, we trust every day and we send our kids off to school, all of us, and we don't always know what's going on.
No.
And more parents are seeing that sometimes when a behavior pops out of nowhere, it can be because something is happening
Related
in the
to what's
school.
going on in
And this is
school.
certainly what the case was here, and Mom found out about it in very interesting circumstances.
Right. This is two teachers in Louisiana have been fired after an audio recording allegedly captured them mocking and saying inappropriate things about a boy with severe autism. The mother, Melissa Davis, sent her 12-year-old son to his school, Hope Academy, with a recording device in his backpack because he had been aggressive at home and wetting the bed. So she knew something was going on, and her instinct told her to try to figure that out.
And we do have to say that in most states that is not acceptable. I believe that's breaking the law
Yeah.
if you are tape recording somebody without their knowledge of it. We've seen other parents do this before and hear things that let them know that their child wasn't safe. We would never tell you to go and break the law. That is not something that Autism Live would do or that Nancy or I would ever do. However, I certainly understand the plight of these parents, and if you don't know if your child is safe, I don't know at what place you stop to be able to know for sure that your child is safe, especially in the presence of when you see that something has changed.
Right.
And this is particularly disturbing if you read the article. I don't want to bum everybody out for the rest of the day, but the things that these teachers said to this young man,
profanities
and just belittling him,
Yes.
and telling him that he couldn't do things,
Right.
and making fun of him when he couldn't do something, about that he was trying to write a letter and saying, it's just a letter, why can't you do it, what's hard about it. It makes me want to cry and either lay down for hours and cry, or pick up like some banner and go march on someplace and say, this will not do. But I'm thrilled that these people have been fired.
Right.
Thrilled that but that is going to take a long time for this young man to get over.
Yeah, it is.
It's just so disturbing.
Yeah, and damaging to his self-esteem and his progress.
And especially when sometimes, I think it's hard for any kids. I have, as a former teacher and being in the classroom, I have seen before when teachers just pick on a kid. For whatever reason, there's just a kid that they pick on. Man, that drives me crazy. And that kid is trying to language it to someone. I'm talking about neurotypical kids who are fully verbal and might go home and say, Mom, that teacher doesn't like me,
Right.
or whatever. And it's hard to know as a parent what's happening there or not. But then when you multiply that times 7 million with a kid who doesn't have skills to be able to communicate what's happening, and what we see in those circumstances is that they will act out. That is what happens. They'll throw things, a new behavior will crop up. It's not a coincidence, and as parents, we need to be aware of that.
Yes, we do.
I think always Richard Strip has a book. We need to have Richard back on the show. that's, Mommy, I wish I could tell you what they did to me at school today. And let me tell you, it's very eye-opening because Rick worked in schools as an aide until he couldn't do it anymore, where he just was like, people aren't listening to me. But he tells you from everybody's point of view. He tells you from the point of view of the parent, having the kid throw his shoes into the trash bin so that he couldn't be ready for the school bus to come and get on it on time. But then he tells you from the point of view of the kid, if I could tell you this is what happened to me and this is why I'm throwing my shoes away, believe me, you will be changed after reading it. That's his Richard Stripp's book. Okay, so, but in better news. Yes, Zappos
and PBS Kids launch a clothing line for children on the autism spectrum.
Which is a very interesting thing for them to have gotten into. Zappos, which we all know from, the shoes online. They call them an e-tailer instead of a retailer. I like that. And PBS Kids. Yeah. So they're cute. The clothes are very cute.
They're very cute. They have they show an example here with all kinds of animals on it. And against the backdrop of Autism Awareness Month, the PBS Kids Adaptive Apparel Collection is now exclusively available on Zappos.com.
Which we absolutely love, and they say that their PBS Kids is committed to diversity and inclusion, helping children of all abilities learn and grow. And that comes from Dawn Saccone, the Vice President, Brand Licensing, in a statement. She says this collaboration with Zappos Adaptive is one more way we're honoring that commitment.
Right, and the clothes are for kids and adults with sensory issues and mobility challenges. They include T-shirts and lounge pants that are button-free, feature dissolvable tags, which is an interesting idea, and come in soft, machine-washable fabric. And it can be worn either forward or backward for versatility, so there's no wrong way of putting it on.
And they come in sizes 18 months to 6X. Now, the only thing in this that we would say is you need to consider a line for adults, right? Because as the kids get older, sometimes those sensory things don't go away.
That's right. And it's very reasonably priced, from $26 to $32.
There you go. Okay, so kudos to Zappos and PBS Kids. Love it, love it, love it. Now, I particularly thought this article in U.S. World News report, because I know you and I have a lot of conversations about the impending cliff, and kids get to a certain point. So there's an article that they have right now, Entering Adulthood with Autism, that falling off the services cliff can have dire consequences for young adults. And I thought it was just a very informative article about the challenges that everybody faces as their kids get older, and it's a really difficult time. Did you like the article, Nancy?
Yes, I did. Of course, it resonated with me because I have a child who's aging up, and I'm worried about what's going to happen when he's finished with high school.
Yes, absolutely, as anybody is and would be. So a very interesting article, U.S. World News report. If you guys want to read it, it's from Gabby Galvin. Lots of information about studies that show that our kids, that there is a cliff. There is a services cliff. But, it's April, and so there's a lot of things always about this. Was it last year or the year before that they had a special on ABC about the cliff, and they showed three different families.
Yes.
And I had heart palpitations in the first hour because I knew here were these, and I haven't been there yet, but here were these parents, and they were like, well, we don't really know what's going to happen when he turns 21. And I was like, oh my God, they haven't figured it out yet that they're going to have to create something. And I was pacing around the couch, and Jim was like, you got to sit down. I was like, no, they haven't realized yet that they're going to have to take, they're hoping that they're going to arrive someplace that already exists, and I know there isn't. And they're going to have to bind together. And of course, by the end, they have figured that out. And then I could watch it. But that transition of the parents who are, because once your kids get settled into a program that's at least moderately effective, you get to take a breath. And you don't really realize, oh gosh,
down the line is coming very quickly.
I gotta go back to where I had to reinvent the world when he was 3. And that's a lot, especially because then you're older, they're older, their issues are different and more defined. It's a tough time. It's a tough time. But I want to encourage everybody, no matter what age your child is, to know what your rights are, that our kids in the United States have a right, starting at age 14, it has to be in place by their 16, to that ITP that we've been talking about more, that individual transition plan. I think that that's at least part of the solution, having that in place so that the cliff isn't as much of a surprise.
Right.
16 was news to me last year. In any case, so we've got our guest from One Hope Wine, Amanda Lamberti.
So we'll have Amanda in here.
And she's going to come in and talk with us about this amazing mission that they're on and how it's benefiting our kids, which is a lovely thing.
And you can drink wine while helping autism. How good is that?
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
That's like, how did that happen? It's great. We need more things like that.
Okay.
So
we'll be
stick
back.
with us. Yes.
Hello, activists. Let's talk about step 7. Recognize your gifts and abilities. Whatever gifts and abilities you had before autism entered your life, you have them now. And I bet you've developed some that you didn't even know you had. Those gifts and abilities are going to help you in your journey of parenting a child with autism spectrum disorders. Maybe you're a born researcher, teacher, negotiator, or organizer. Well, you're going to need all of those talents. And you could find a whole new calling. That's what happened to me. If you had told me 20 years ago that I was going to leave behind a career as a television producer to work as an autism advocate and activist, I would have said, you're nuts. If you don't think you have any special gifts or abilities, ask someone who loves you. They'll tell you what they are. I guarantee you, you have them. What's your special gift? Find it, use it, for yourself, for your child, for the good of all concerned. Until next time, keep the faith.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Johansson, and this is My Little House.
My Little House is an interactive, multi-sensory educational felt toy that I invented to help develop children's language skills.
I love My Little House.
I've been working as a speech therapist for over 20 years. I have spent my entire career working with young children. I work with children with language delays, and I have many children with significant cognitive disabilities and children on the autism spectrum. It has been a constant challenge finding toys that are fun, educational, and actually engage my students. In every preschool, since I've been a young therapist, we carry on these felt boards. Kids love them because they're soft and they're fluffy, and there's usually these little pieces that attach to these boards because felt sticks onto felt. You bring them into the activity because they're putting a piece on the board. So it's almost kind of like magic. So then I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could just take this one-dimensional board and make it into an actual three-dimensional toy? How cool would that be?
That's the idea behind My Little House. You can spread it out flat like a 4-panel felt board, or here's the cool part. In the blink of an eye, My Little House easily converts into a 3-dimensional reversible house.
This is the outside. This is the inside.
My Little House comes with 36 felt cutout pieces that match outlines in 8 colorful rooms. And they're felt, so they stick. Each piece inside My Little House has been placed with purpose.
For instance, in the kitchen, whole, half, under, on top, inside, big, bigger, and biggest, empty and full, circle, triangle, inside, outside.
Really cool thing, I have a nonprofit, Lecotech. They are the folks that put out the Differently Able Guide for Toys R Us. They've been doing it for 25 years. They gave me their seal of approval as a toy that they feel is a toy with purpose, and that will make a difference. But My Little House isn't just for kids on the spectrum or with significant disorders. It's also for typically developing 2 to 5-year-olds. It's a fun toy.
Oh, this is so soft. That piece goes.
Recently, I took My Little House to the American Speech and Hearing Association convention in Philadelphia, and the response from my peers was overwhelming. Hundreds of therapists, teachers, and heads of school districts wanted to order them.
It was real validation for me that this truly is a toy that needs to get out there.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod. I'm a proud autism mom, I'm a former educator, and I am the host of Autism Live. And as all three of those things, I want to recommend to you My Little House. This is one of the smartest toys I have ever seen for teaching language to kids who have emerging language. Whether they're on the autism spectrum or completely neurotypical, it's a great, fun, reinforcing toy, but it's especially great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum because it makes learning fun and it makes it tactile. They have these felt shapes and they get to match them up. And I'm telling you, even the adults love to play with this. We loved this toy so much that we wanted to be able to bring it to you at a great discount. So right now, if you will go to www.smartfelttoys, and when you get to the coupon code, put in a-live.com, you'll get $5 off. Isn't that great? So I want to encourage you, go and get My Little House for all the kiddos in your life. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And we've got this fabulous guest here who's already been a light in the studio with us. We've got Amanda Lamberti. Am I saying that correctly?
You are. Yes.
And you are the director of One Hope Foundation.
I am.
And also the director of events at One Hope.
I do.
Yes.
Wear
So
two hats.
First of all, tell us about One Hope and what One Hope is and does.
So we are a social impact company. And all the products that we make give back to a different nonprofit. So primarily wine, but also we've got some new pantry products and gift products. So everything that we sell gives back.
So each label gives to a different charity.
Correct.
And tell us about the Autism Label.
So we actually have, we've got 2 Cabernets that give back to autism. To Act Today.
To Act Today, to Autism Care and Treatment Today, and they give specifically for ABA therapy.
Correct. We've got a core Cabernet, which is our, it's kind of our starting label, and then we've also got a reserve, which is a little bit higher of a price point.
Okay.
And that also gives back to Act Today.
Which is fantastic. So I'm going to encourage you all to go buy One Hope because you can, I mean, how great is that you can drink wine while doing good?
It's one of the best things I've ever heard of. Honestly, I mean, it's such a great thing that your company does. I want to thank you as a parent for the fact that you guys do this. And also, you know, you may not be a big wine drinker, but the perfect gift to give, because you have to give gifts to people, and when you give a gift of a One Hope bottle of wine, you first of all, you're giving a caring gift, a wonderful gift, but also there is a message on the bottle that talks about the mission, so that, you know, it's one of those alignment things that you're doing all the things that you want to do in life and they're all properly aligned, that you've done double duty. You gave a beautiful gift that someone will cherish and really be like, oh, that's so thoughtful, but then they, at some point, it's a beautiful bottle. All your bottles are beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
And there's a beautiful statement on them that they will look at and go, oh, that's right. You're dealing with autism, and by giving me this bottle of wine, I'm helping to ensure that kids get ABA. Makes me happy.
We also have we have gift boxes. We have 3 gift boxes that also give back specifically to Act Today. So one is like for a golfer, so it's a bottle of wine, some of our coffee, so you know, the golfer can start out coffee in the morning and then end the day with some lovely cab, and then there's also some, I think, golfing tees and golf balls in there, and then there's another one that's more of sort of a picnic style, so you've got cheese and a bottle of our cab, and so all of that is available on our website, but those are also...
And the website is?
OneHopeWine.com.
OneHopeWine.com. So if you're looking for the perfect gift, please go to that and order, because it helps Act Today, Autism Care and Treatment Today. Now, One Hope Wine is the Medal of Honor title sponsor of our run this weekend, the 8th annual One Hope Act Today for Military Families, 5K, 10K, which is in San Diego.
Yep.
And tell us why you support that event.
You know, it's probably the easiest question that you'll ask me today. It's a really important event for us, really for 2 reasons. You know, we've worked with Act Today we're going on 11 years now.
I know. Wow. Since the beginning.
It's truly since the beginning of One Hope. And so the run is really important for us, you know, to continue to support our relationship with Act Today and for families with autism, but also as a way of saying thank you and helping to support military families. You've really created sort of the perfect storm of an event there, and we're so proud to be a part of it. So, you know, we say yes every year without even thinking about it. So
And there's some really fun aspects of the event. There's a resource fair afterwards and a fun zone for kids, and a quiet zone and all of that. But also one of the main attractions is the wine and beer tent, correct?
Yes. It is. It's such a fun day. And we were just actually talking about this in the office yesterday, and how it's such a lovely event for the whole family to be able to come. You know, I don't know that every run is put together that way, but there is so much to do from music and different vendors, and of course we'll be there and you can come chat with us. And then, yes, the lovely beer and wine garden. So we will be there with some nice wine, nice cold wine after the run in the morning.
Yeah, which there's always a big crowd at the wine and beer tent.
Of course.
Yeah. So we encourage you to go on. You could go to our website at act-aday.org and look for the run if you'd like to join us, and you can also be a virtual participant and just make a donation. So it helps military families with children with autism.
Yeah.
And we want to thank One Hope for all of your support through the years.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We hope to keep up the relationship.
We do too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Amanda, for
You're
joining us
welcome.
today. Okay. We'll be
And
with
one more time, the website for
Oh,
One
yeah,
Hope?
one more time.
OneHopeWine.com.
Okay, make sure you get those great gifts. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you,
welcome.
Amanda.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Talk means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism, and today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Talker unites these families and shows that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope. One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing
oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's gonna do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're gonna do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you go through this 3-week of depression, and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we gonna do? And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's gonna be okay, and we're gonna be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without TACA, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. TACA is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At TACA?
At TACA.
At TACA,
We are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone, and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Hey, I'm throwing a party at my place if you want to come.
Thanks, but parties really aren't my thing.
You think I've been capable of raising a child?
I was going to tell you. I have a good job. I'm married. Why can't you see that? I did the best I could for both of you.
Happy Independence Day.
Welcome back. You just saw a trailer for an amazing film, and we have the filmmaker here, Jonathan Carlander, and one of the actors, Crash Buist, is here with us in the studio. I want to start by talking about Jonathan for just a second, because this is his second time being on the show with us. We're really excited to have him here. He is from Long Beach. He's been a longtime lover of cinema, and the last time you were here, you had just debuted a film that you had done as you were graduating from college. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, at Columbia College Hollywood, I went to film school there, and I was promoting my thesis film called The Pleasing List, about an autistic protagonist.
And we're thrilled to have you. We've been around long enough now that we get to have people come and sometimes they're talking about something and they get to come back and say, yep, that project that I was working on, you got this new passion project. So we're excited that you're here. We should mention, I forgot to ask you before, but you've been on the show before, that you are on the autism spectrum.
You have Asperger's syndrome.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
proud of it.
And proud of it. Okay.
There we go.
Proud of it.
And it seems like most of your films are focusing on that topic.
It's so funny. When I first started making movies, they were mostly rip-offs of very bad horror movies, and mine were just as worse. And I wanted to make a personal film with the pleasing list for the first time, and so now I'm sort of hooked to doing personal films. And autism is very, obviously very, I think, as personal as I could possibly be.
And this movie is called Autistic America.
Autistic America.
It's a 13-minute short, and it centers. Tell us what the film centers. What's the subject matter?
Well, it's about, the movie is called Autistic America, as you said, and it takes place in a small, really neighborhood, and it's about 3 people with autism going about their business on the 4th of July. So you have Tim, played by John Untitled. I hope I'm getting that last name correct, but John plays Tim, who's an artist who's invited by Crash here, his character Mike, to a party, a 4th of July bash. Another character, Paula, she wants to marry her boyfriend Jack and have a child. And our third story is around Ian, who is trying to reconcile with his estranged father at his old family house.
Okay. And Crash, you play the neighbor.
Right, yeah, Mike.
Mike, and you're trying to sort of befriend him, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just, it starts off very simple, and I think like a lot of the best stories, it starts simple and then things aren't as simple. And he knows there's somebody across the street who moves in and he wants to be a good neighbor and he wants to meet this person, and then learns that, it isn't quite what he was expecting, and still makes a friend. And it was really interesting reading the script because it was just so touching and so simple. I think it's really interesting you saying that you did complicated rip-offs of horror movies, and then you're like, I'm going to do something simple that touches me, and it was surprising to read it, and I was really excited, and I was glad I was able to help out and do it and do the film. It was great. It was
what a great thing.
He was
so fun.
He was phenomenal.
I'm curious because we haven't seen you in a couple of years, and you were just getting out of college, and you had so much enthusiasm, but being a filmmaker is a really challenging thing to pick, right?
It
I
is.
mean, you have...
But it's fun.
It is fun and very rewarding when you get to do it. In the interim, since we last saw you, how difficult was it for you to get this film made?
It was a challenge. It was, well, first of all, before I decided to make the film, I was trying to break into the industry, and for a couple years I was a intern, and it wasn't really, the internship was great, but it wasn't really going anywhere. So I actually quit the internship, and I came up with the idea of Autistic America. And to make a long story short, I approached a couple of producers. One of them lives in my neck of the woods, named Eric Blackburn, and he has a stepson who has autism, and he said, I'd love to help you produce this. And so for about $7,000, we were able to shoot this movie in literally 2 days at a friend's house. And as fun as the shoot was, I remember coming home every day for those 2 days just feeling like I'd run a marathon or something. I was very physically exhausted. But the weird thing is that it was the good kind of exhaustion. It was like, I feel like I've achieved something.
Yeah.
As opposed to the exhaustion where you feel like, I just wasted X number of hours and I can't get it back.
Right.
So
that gratification of job well done.
That gratification of just working with great people and getting this very personal story on camera. So it was challenging, but it was so worth it.
So $7,000 budget. How long did it take you from when the producer said I want to produce it to get to those 2 days when you shot?
I originally approached Eric, the producer, in April. So in late April, and we shot
Of last year.
Of 2017, and we shot for 2 days in August.
Wow.
And the editing of the film took about the rest of 2017 to do.
So when he said yes, you already had the script in place, or just the idea?
I had the idea, and I had, I think, a very rough draft of it, and he helped me polish the draft and get it to a place where it was shootable and workable, because originally it was like almost 30-something pages, and it was 4 stories, but because of budget reasons and time reasons, we had to cut the script pages, and one of the stories was very similar to Ian's story, but it was about a young kid named Danny, but it was sort of similar, so I said, well, I'll just cut that out. And I'm glad I cut it out, because I think 3 stories is pretty well suited for a short film. If it was a feature, maybe 4 or 5, but 3, I think, for a short film was the right number.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Shannon, your turn.
What is your need? What is your goal with the film? What message do you hope to get across?
The same message. I mean, it's worth repeating again and again until society's ears open up. And I tried to do it with the pleasing list too. Is that people with autism are human beings. They are not walking labels. They're individual human beings. They aren't all into mathematics or astronomy. They're not all the stereotypical Rain Man, Raymond Babbitt type of person. And I just want people to really grasp that concept of the individuality of autism and how broad the spectrum is. I mean, if you've seen the movie, the characters do have challenges, and that is seen in the movie, but they make eye contact and they're fully verbal.
They're all high functioning.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, for Crash, when you came onto this project, did you audition or did you already know Jonathan?
I did audition. Eric was producing the film. Eric Blackburn was producing the film, and we have a mutual friend, Jennifer, who sent me a message saying, like, we need to tape this thing. We're looking for this guy. And it was, for me, one of just a bunch of different auditions that I said, got it, and like read the script and did the thing and woke up and taped it. And then I got to read the script. I got like a very small bit of sides. So I came in way late. I didn't know that. I didn't even know until just now that there were 4 different stories during the development, that it was longer. I mean, Jonathan and I were just talking on the way in here because we both individually have done different things and had individual careers here. And there's so much that goes on when you're building this thing. Like, that you probably before you even started writing, right? It was an idea of some kind.
It was just a seed. Yeah,
right. And then that's awesome to hear. But for me, and as an actor, you're lucky enough to come into a project when all of that strife and thought process and reworking and staying up late at night and saying, oh my God, where do those hours go? I'll never get them back, is already done. So I got to just come in, work on the script, meet Jonathan, shoot it.
What did you know about autism before you got involved with the project?
Very little. My father's sister was autistic, and I remember he told me a lot about it at one point when I was growing up. It came up at some point, but she unfortunately passed away long before I was ever around.
Right.
So I heard just sort of like how living with an autistic sister was for him when he lived in where he grew up in New Orleans and then California. But it was always a passing thing, always consider other people, consider other people's feelings. You don't know really what's going on with other people and their lives. And then that was it for me. It wasn't ever something that I lived with in my immediate vicinity. And it was really exciting to get to work with Jonathan because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I was like, oh, it's a film called Autistic America. The director is autistic, and my immediate thought was, oh no, what am I doing? What am I getting myself into? And it turned out I was getting myself into a professional production with a bunch of really excited, interesting people, and it was great. So when
you auditioned, is that how they worded it to you and said it's a film about autism and the director is on the autism spectrum?
It wasn't that blunt. She told me about the script. I got to read it. She informed me, our friend Jennifer informed me that he knew what he was talking about writing the film.
Okay.
Right? He was coming from a perspective that was not. Because often, especially in Hollywood, you find people that want to talk about something or write about something or direct a film about something that they don't really know anything about.
Yeah.
In order to, I mean, you talk about Rain Man, but I don't know much about the production of that, but using stereotypes to promote their film, or using
guesswork.
Yeah, right. And so it was really exciting to be told that I would be working on something that was coming from an informed perspective, that was coming from
the authenticity of it
yes, and that's always really exciting.
And was that a decision that you made, Jonathan, early on, that as you were looking for actors, that you were going to step forward and put that, because I imagine it doesn't come up in every conversation that you have, that you start a conversation and say, oh, and by the way, right? Or do you? How do you address that?
I rarely address it, and when I do, people are like, oh, you don't seem like it, which, is kind of a compliment, but at the same time, people do have this going on guesswork about what autistic people are. And as Alex Plank, who I admire, once said, autism, people don't realize autism is people like myself, and so authenticity with this subject matter, whether it's autism or people in wheelchairs or what have you, are so important. It's so important. One of my favorite directors, for example, is Gus Van Sant, who is homosexual, and he comes from a very personal place, like with Milk and this first feature film he did called Bad Night, which I recommend to the folks out there. And he comes from that personal place, and it's so authentic, and you believe it. He's not making fun of it. He's coming from a personal place, and he's sort of taking off his own skin in a way and showing what's underneath. And I tried to do that with Pleasing List, and of course with Autistic America, because it's so important for me to be honest.
So what are your goals as a filmmaker for the future then?
If I can make movies that are entertaining to people as well as give them hope, then I'm good. That's really all I want to do. I'm very, very simple that way.
And you feel that your Asperger's syndrome has been a benefit to you?
An incredible benefit.
How is that?
Because I think visually, for starters, I have a very visual kind of imagination. And as a filmmaker, it's in the script and in the story, of course, but the visuals are what tell the story. It's not like a radio program. And so I think visually, and I think autism has a big part of that. And I also think I'm able to verbally communicate sensitive, emotional subjects to my actors. Like if I need an actor to be sympathetic, or I need an actor to, cry, I think I can communicate that very well, having been through those. So I'm very in touch with my feelings, I guess, which I think helps if you're an artist, period, whether you're a filmmaker or a painter or what have you.
And yet so many of the stereotypes that are misconceptions about the autism spectrum, there are people out there that think that people on the autism spectrum have no empathy, do not experience emotions. It is certainly frustrating for me. I can't imagine what it's like being on the spectrum and hearing those kinds of things. It's wonderful to hear you say it's quite the opposite.
It is the opposite, and it does get my blood boiling when people have the misconception or are just willful about, like, well, what's the harm, and the harm is that, it's a justification for discrimination against people who you can benefit from. You don't have to necessarily be their friend, but you have to treat them with respect and dignity.
That's right, dignity. It's the big word. Now, a lot of things have been happening in the film industry. There's this movement now about the inclusion rider. And it's not just about women, it's about everybody and people of ability. I'm wondering, if you guys could speak to the fact, for you just have had this experience of being on a film with a director who's on the spectrum. Is there anything that you want to say to people about what that was like for you guys, and why this inclusion rider should include individuals with autism and individuals with different abilities?
From my perspective, there's something that you can't, the authenticity that you're talking about is something that you can't manufacture, you can't pretend like it's there. If you don't have inclusion, if you don't have people with different voices telling different stories, I know personally it's not as exciting to tell stories that aren't coming from an authentic perspective. And as far as from an artistic perspective, it's exciting it's exciting to be a part of that, and I think that that is something that I really appreciate about enforcing sounds the right word. Having an inclusive perspective like that. Yeah, fostering an inclusive environment and an inclusive industry. So that's really exciting.
What do you think, Jonathan?
Some of our biggest, financial successes in the movie business, as well as creatively, came from people who thought differently and perceived the world differently. The biggest example, one of my favorite examples, is Tim Burton. I suspect that he has a lot of, you read interviews, you hear interviews, you look at his hair. No, I'm just kidding. You hear interviews with him, and you definitely get a sense that he sees the world in a very different way, and he has one of the best visual imaginations I think I've ever seen. And his movies, the studios went in kind of hesitant for the most part, and they become these huge successes, whether it's Alice in Wonderland or more personal projects like Edward Scissorhands. Yeah. So, yeah.
Where something starts off, when something seems people are apprehensive to go into it, oftentimes that can be the most exciting stuff. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen when I came onto the set, and if I hadn't been told that Jonathan, was on the spectrum in some way, I wouldn't have known. But knowing that, being aware of that, letting that inform your artistic decisions, and letting that inform the environment, the workplace, can be weird and scary. And then also it brings to that next level of well, great, then we accept that, and now we let that inform this, and it has another degree of authenticity. It's more exciting. It's more fun. Everything benefits.
And I love the idea of the authenticity of it, but if you had another opportunity to be directed by Jonathan in a film that wasn't necessarily about autism, that was about something else that he felt authentic about, because that isn't your whole life, would you jump on that chance because he's a good director?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was really eye-opening for me as an actor. It was like, oh, this guy's building a cohesive and exciting environment, regardless of the actual subject matter that we're working on. It's like, this is running smoothly. This is really fun. Everybody's having a great time. 100% would be on board with any kind of project like that. That had nothing to do with, if we were doing one of your horror movies. If you were into that again, suddenly it'd be great.
Well, some horror movies are actually can act as good social commentary.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead, for example. Oh
my girlfriend just made me watch The Thing recently, and she was bringing it up, and she's like, "This isn't about a monster. This is about a monster. This is about a social monster."
I loved what Guillermo del Toro said at the Oscars about, if you don't see that there's a way to have this sort of fantastic reality talk about society, then you're missing the boat. Exactly. I love that. So we've only got like a minute and a half left, but Jonathan, do you already have the kernel of the idea for the next film?
I would like to do a film at some point about workplace bullying.
Workplace bullying.
Workplace bullying. Okay. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about autism.
Right.
But I think that is a very serious epidemic, if you will, for a lot of people. I mean, look at what happened, and I don't mean to really get into this, the sex scandal and that sort of thing. Talk about workplace bullying. And so it needs to be addressed. I mean, I think part of your job as a filmmaker is to present problems to people. Even if you don't have a solution, at least you're saying, this is a serious issue in the world. We need to at least start. We have to have serious conversations about this. And an obvious example is Avatar. And the burning of the destruction of cultures and nature and tradition. And so that's one project that I would like to do someday, because I think it's a very tragic issue in our society.
Well, go ahead.
It's nice to see your success as a filmmaker. I'm sure it's inspirational to a lot of people that are watching today. It shows you what those on the spectrum can accomplish. And if you had a message to anybody that's out there listening that happens to be on the autism spectrum that has a dream, what would it be?
Just keep at it. Don't let your label define you. Embrace it. But remember that you are not alone. You are part of a beautiful community of beautiful people.
Absolutely. Now, where can we see the film?
The film is currently being submitted to film festivals, so It's going to be on YouTube for the public to see, hopefully sooner rather than later. But if you just Google Autistic America, within a few, well, you could even Google my name, and I have a YouTube channel. It's just Jonathan Carlander.
That's Carlander.
Exactly. And you could see the trailer for Autistic America, as well as the pleasing list again. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, you'll be able to check out Autistic America as well.
Very good.
I can't wait till the third time you come back. I can't wait to see what the next project is, Jonathan. I love that we're getting to watch you grow as a filmmaker, and so we can say we knew you when.
Well, it's guys like Crash and you that help keep me going.
Well, I also love that this producer recognized and saw the talent in you and said, I'm going to invest. And I think we need to get more people to do that exact kind of thing. So please, Eric Blackburn.
Eric Blackburn.
Give him our thanks. And we saw on the trailer, Blackburn Productions. Good on him that he's associated with such a wonderful, wonderful project. We hope more people do that.
He was wonderful.